been?
What's that word?
On the back. The old method of the torch. We've been yesterday, about 4:30 to 8:30. We worked our butt off this today.
Said the old United Methodist.
Yeah.
I used to work there.
Really?
I was with the architectural.
Yeah. Yeah, we're,
Did we ever see this?
it'll be a VA treatment. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the routine, there's all this stuff on the table if you want any good information.
Okay. Wait.
And then that other table I don't have to tell you about over there. Yeah. Good information, part of it, the new senior folks using a lot of good information. They're free, it's free. Hand sanitizer. Take a cup. Try to get rid of this stuff for Dion. Hang it on your purse. Hang it on your,
Good afternoon, everybody. How are we today? Yeah? Enjoying that warmer weather now?
no.
No?
And then just turn it up.
I am Detective Mike Holford with the Manhattan Police Department on behalf of my partners,
All that
the Lenox
stuff
and Manhattan Fire Departments.
on that table.
We wanted to welcome you to this month's TRIAD meeting. As you can see, it's going to be on investing for older Americans. A little bit of housekeeping. Bathrooms, or bathroom. It's a unisex bathroom. It's right outside these doors and to your right. Just make sure you lock the door when you go in there. That's the only one we've got. Even though it does look like it has stalls, one person at a time. Next month's meeting is going to be on June 28th in New Lenox, and it's going to be on dementia care, 10 signs for early detection of dementia. Okay. Today's speaker is going to be Terry Paggi. He's with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. He's got, and I'm going to let him do most of his background, but he is a well-versed investigator with a long history. He actually worked for the Will County Sheriff's Police at one point and left as a detective. So without any further ado, Terry, thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. As Mike said, my name is Terry Paggi. I'll give you a little bit of my background. I had a law enforcement background prior to being where I'm at. I was a patrolman with the city of Harvey, and I served for 13 and a half years with the Will County Sheriff's Office, leaving as a detective in the year 2000. I then became Director of Investigations for E-Trade Financial, and before joining the Securities and Exchange Commission in November of 2011. And we have a program for you today on investing for older Americans. One of the reasons that we have this is one of the probably single most financially abused groups of people in the United States are older Americans. Here's a little disclaimer. Basically, anything that I say may not always agree with the people who are head of my agency. So sometimes I may say something and somebody may not agree with it. So anyway, before we go and start, investor.gov. That's mentioned on a lot of the brochures I have. Please write it down. If you do not take anything away from today, just remember investor.gov. That's the SEC's newest website for investors, and there is a ton of information there. And there's actually a specific area for seniors. So what I'm going to do is just get a couple little videos that play.
What do you need?
So here we go.
This car came courtesy of James and Patricia Thompson. This TV, Margaret and Tom Lee. The championship game ball, that was Sebastian Diaz. Good guy. And all I had to do was ask for their money and pretend I was investing it. Their life savings is now my lifestyle.
Don't let someone else live the life you're saving for. Find out if you're dealing with a registered investment professional at investor.gov. It's a great first step toward protecting your money. Before you invest, investor.gov.
Okay. We're going to just give you a little overview of the Securities Exchange Commission, some strategies for smart investing, tips to help you avoid some fraud, and our latest one, and I'm glad that they put this in there, is planning for a diminished capacity. So basically the SEC's main mission is to protect investors, to maintain a fair and orderly and efficient market, and facilitate capital formation. These are just some figures of actually how many individuals and firms that we actually regulate. As you can see, we regulate broker-dealers, brokers, investment advisor representatives, and investment advisory firms, and various trade clearing houses. And we also regulate various self-reporting organizations such as FINRA, MSRB, SIPC, and there's over 9,000 publicly traded reporting companies. Just some figures here of how much is managed by the SEC as far as through the market, various assets of management under mutual funds, and how much trading volume is in equity markets on a daily basis. Like I said, we've reviewed disclosures of approximately 9,000 reporting companies. These are publicly traded companies. We conduct routine and cause examinations on broker-dealers and investment advisory firms. So we may get complaints on certain types of firms for certain types of conduct, and after so many complaints, they will show up and do an exam on the firm. Or we sometimes just have them up, they just come up on the schedule. And we enforce federal securities laws. So in fiscal year 15, we collected $4.2 billion in disgorgement and penalties from 807 enforcement actions.
Excuse me a minute. So you do routine inspections of all the different brokerage?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, unless, other than that, you would have to have a complaint.
That would be correct. I mean, like the way they have it scheduled would be, and I'm just throwing this out there as an example, maybe JPM Chase investments 1 month, Wells Fargo investments the next month. But then they start getting complaints against another firm, they may target that one before it would normally come up in order.
Thank you.
Okay. And again, we respond to complaints and inquiries from individual investors. Last year we got approximately 22,000 complaints, and there's investor.gov again. You're going to see it multiple times. Here it is again. This is what it looks like. It's very user-friendly. You could actually, if your retirement accounts are being managed by any individual, you can search them on there. You could see if they've had any complaints. You could see if they've had any fines. And you could see if they've had no issues whatsoever. And then we have strategies for smart investing. All investments have risks. If somebody mentions, I guarantee, walk away, because there is no such thing as a guaranteed investment. It's a risk. Just like going to get gambling or anything like that, you're putting your money in and you're taking a risk. You're probably not going to get anything, but you probably could, there's a chance you could. This is from a movie. It's a little clip called Boiler Room. Boiler Room is a term that is used for a less than reputable broker that would set up in a makeshift place, and they would sell basically junk, and once everything's sold, they move on.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Jacobs. This is Chris Marlin over at JT Marlin. Marlin? Right, he's my father. So my associate tells me you're interested in one of our stocks. I will call her back. Yes, MSC sounds like it might be interesting. Might be. Might be doesn't sell stock at the rate MSC is going for, Dr. Jacobs. We're talking very high volume here. Well, I still have to run it by my people. That's great, Doc, if you want to miss yet another opportunity here and watch your colleagues get rich doing clinical trials, then don't buy a share and hang up the phone. Well, hold on a second now. I didn't say that. I just want to talk about it. Honestly, Doc, I don't have the time. This stock is blowing up right now. The whole firm's going nuts. Hold on, let me open up the door to my office. See that, Doc? That's my trading floor. Now I have a million calls to make to a million other doctors who are already in the know. I can't walk you through this right now. Sorry. Okay, let's do this. Now, since you're a new account, I cannot go any higher than 2,000 shares. I'm sorry. 2,000?
Are you nuts? That is way beyond what I was thinking. 2,000? Jesus. Listen, I'm curious. Why can't you sell me any more than that?
Well, we like to establish a relationship with our clients on something small before we get to the more serious trades. Let me show you several percentage points on this small trade, and then we'll talk about doing it.
That sounds good. Give me the 2,000 shares.
Done.
You sure you can't do any better on this one?
I'm sorry, Dr. Jacobs. I can't, I'm sorry.
Oh, all right, we'll start with this trade then.
Great. I promise we'll swing for the fences on the next one. Do you want that confirmation sent to your office or your mansion? Very funny, Mr. Marlin. Let me put my secretary on, and she'll take down your info. It was a pleasure doing business with you. Done and done.
Okay. While that is a Hollywood movie, it's a lot truer than what you may think. What he just did was played on somebody else's greed, and that greed overrode their common sense, and they wound up buying something that they're going to later regret. Okay, here we have a graph that shows investment risks versus returns. The lower the risk, the lower the return. Certificates of deposit, money market accounts, savings accounts, they're pretty stable. However, you're not going to make a lot of money off of them. As we increase the risk and move up towards bonds, yes, we stand a chance to make more money, but we stand a chance to lose more money. And then we have stocks. And again, there's a higher risk, but then there's also a higher return for that risk. Now see, here we have the different asset classes. Cash, all right? We have savings accounts, CDs, and money markets. You know, I remember the days of when CDs were 18, 19%. Now they're what, 1? I think maybe 2, okay? They're lower, but they guarantee a return. The only real risk in it is inflation or if the interest rate changes. Now we go to a bond. These are government, municipal, and corporate bonds and bond funds. They're going to give you a predictable income stream. However, the bottom line is if the interest rate changes or they default, you know, like when cities go bankrupt, that means they're absolved of all their debts. And then we have stocks, and which are stocks and stocks funds. They historically offer the greatest growth, but there's volatility of falling prices. I mean, I'm sure if anybody's got an IRA or some type of investment account, I mean, it was like my young son when he was drawing, it was like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. But you go for the long run. This is a little bit of what we tell people, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Usually younger people, when they first start investing, because they have a long time yet before they can reap their rewards, they may be a little bit more risky. Some in the medium and very little in the safe side. Then as they get older, they may put more from the risky into the medium. And then as we get into the golden years, people are getting out of the risky investments, putting some in the medium risk, and placing the rest in the safe side. Okay, why mutual funds are popular? They're affordable, and there's liquidity. Okay, what that means is that you can sell it anytime you want. They have the same type of risks as any other security. You know, you may have bought something for $59 a share and you keep seeing it go down, you're going to sell it and you're going to take a loss on it. Or you can sell it as it's going up, but you're able to liquidate it.
Well, when you get in the market, you're going to be more than likely it's long term.
That's, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay, I'm going to go through some different products. We have variable annuities. That means the interest rate can change on these. We regulate those. Okay. You may also buy an annuity at a fixed rate. Mm-hmm. That's an insurance product. We don't have any regulatory control over that. All right. With the annuities, the investment risks are, if you have to pull it out, something happens and there's an early withdrawal, you're going to pay a very, very heavy penalty for most of them. And when you go to file your income tax, there's very complicated tax rules for doing so. Now, we have another thing called real estate investment trusts, or Reits. I'm sorry, I tend to wander around a little bit. And what these are, some of them have liquidity, and the fees, you have to be very careful when they're publicly and non-publicly traded REITs. One of the problems, and you make sure before you invest, is that you can get your money if you need it. There are some where, you know, you sign a paper saying you're going to leave it in there for 20 years. It's staying in there for 20 years. Okay? We have master limited partnerships. Don't see too much of these. These are more into the commodity field. And then we have exchange traded notes. These are unsecured debt obligations of financial institutions. These are very complex things with regards to valuation and fees. There's a risk of the issuer default, there's market risk, price volatility, and liquidity risks. All investments have fees, and they matter. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one because it's going to show here a little bit better. There we go. All right, so what we're going to do is we take $100,000 and over a period of 20 years, if you are being charged a 0.25% annual rate, so the person that is managing your account gets, his company gets 0.25. So in 2013, you're $100,000. 2033, we're looking at about just under 210,000. If they're charging you 0.5%, that rate now will come under $200,000. And if they're charging you 1%, you're looking at somewhere under $180,000. So that's just in between 1/4% and 1%, you're looking at $30,000. It's a lot of money. This is our partner, it's a self-regulatory organization. And what that means is they are not part of the government, but if somebody wants to operate as a broker-dealer, or if an individual wants to become a licensed broker, they must go through FINRA. And we also regulate FINRA. So you could, if you have a broker, you can check out their record through here. Does anybody know what the difference between when I say investment advisor and broker? Does anybody think they're the same? No. They're not. Okay. An investment advisor has a fiduciary duty to act in your best interest. They meet with you and they say, Terry, this fund that we had you in, it really hasn't been performing to what we think. I think, based upon this, we'd be better off liquidating and going with something else. And this would be your best situation. Now, he doesn't have a crystal ball. He's pretty much kind of like looking at all the research material. It could fall short, but he's acting in my best interest. Right. A broker, you call up and say, I want you to buy 6 shares of ABC Corporation. And he may know that ABC is going down the tubes. But you wanted to buy it, so he charges you and then you pay a commission fee. And this you do through, like if you have an account with any type of online broker or anybody that's in a brick building. Okay, here's what we need to ask when you're picking a fund. Doesn't match your goals. Do you intend to live as good as you are prior to retirement, after? Do you want to live more frugal and have money over a longer time? What has been the fund's performance over time? So you can look, and that's what's nice about investor.gov. You can look at a fund and you can see how it's been acting over the last year, 2 years. What is your risk tolerance? It's always like when you're told about gambling. Don't gamble with money you can't afford to lose. Same thing with investing. If you can't afford to lose it, you probably shouldn't invest it. What are the fees and expenses? And will the fund help you diversify your investments? All right, choosing a financial professional, whether they're a broker-dealer or an investment advisor, is a very, very important decision. They are wanting your business. They get paid from your business. They're going to be very, very nice to you, just like when you go to a car dealership. So, but you can't check your car dealer, well, I shouldn't say the individual salesman, but you can check your financial professional. Okay, you can do your own research. and uses a financial professional to make the trade. Recommendations each time of about when you think about going to trade on an investment. The ongoing investment in management. Do they have your permission? Because there are some managed accounts where I have to okay a trade, or there's some where I sign over pretty much control of that. So if something is coming and happening fast, he can make the trades or she can make the trades without my permission. Okay. Let's see here. How to avoid fraud. Research the financial professional and the product. You can always call the SEC. I work out of our Chicago regional office. My card is over there with my direct phone line. While I cannot give you my opinion, I cannot give you advice, I could help you look it up and see whether or not the individual or the firm or the product has ever had, are they registered? If they're not, that's a big, big red flag. And again, the persuasion tactics, hard sell, pushy, and be alert to common investment scams, which at investor.gov, we list all the ongoing ones that are recently coming out. I mean, who hasn't got called to say that if you don't give money right away to something, you know, the local cop, they even use the word local cops will come arrest you. I get that phone call about 3 or 4 times a day sometimes. Okay, ask and check. Always ask questions. Check whether the person who is soliciting your investment is registered. That's where you can go to investor.gov. You can look at any investment advisors or brokers. You can check to see if they've had any disciplinary actions, history of customer complaints. You can even see where they worked last. Here we are again. So you're going to keep seeing this. It's a very, very good tool for you to use. And very easy. It's either individual or firm. You put their name in there. If their name is John Smith, try to put in their zip code because you're going to get a lot of them. All right. But like with a name like mine, Terry Paggi, it's probably not too common. So you can just put it right in there. Okay, is the product registered? Find out if the company that's soliciting your investment, whether or not they are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. This can be found through EDGAR. It can be found on not only the SEC website, but at investor.gov. And scams often, not always, but almost always involve unregistered companies. And this is what EDGAR looks like at both investor.gov and on the SEC website. All you do is put the company name in there, hit search, and if it says nothing found, that's a red flag. You can, but if they're publicly traded, you can pull up, you can see any filings that they've done. You can look at their quarterly reports. You can look at their annual reports. Anytime you could actually look to see who the insiders are. So a company, you know, you can tell how many shares of options each officer of the company is getting. Okay. If it sounds too good to be true, we know it is, right? The pressure to buy right now. If you don't buy now, it's not going to be here. And they will also have a lack of documentation. They look for victims on social media sites, chat rooms, and bulletin boards. You may be dealing with one person who's got 5 different computers and 5 different accounts going at the same time, and you think you're in on some conversation, and these guys are, you know, making deals left and right, and you're like, I want to get in on there. And that's how they hook people in. If you receive an unsolicited message from someone you don't know about, can't miss opportunity, pass. I think okay. Some of the persuasion tactics that they use, these phantom riches. You're gonna, you know, I'll guarantee you 64%. That's impossible. Source credibility. They'll try to use somebody like, you know, so-and-so has already been buying it, or they will use somebody famous to try to sell their product. You may be talked into it by people within your social group, and they may be unwitting parties to it too. The scarcity, it's now or never, okay? Reciprocity, they have that up here, you know, do me a favor and I'll do you a favor down the road. I haven't seen that one yet. Okay, we're going to give you like a little bit of a sales pitch here, and come on.
Hello? Hi there. Hi, is this Mr. Rucker? Yeah. How are you tonight, sir? Good. I'm good too, sir. Let me tell you why that's funny, Mr. Rucker. Okay. My name is Good. Ron Good. Oh. It's got an E on the end, so some people pronounce it Goody, but it's just Good. Yeah. And may I say, sir, that the news is good, especially for you. Oh, yeah? You might remember you went to one of our seminars a couple weeks ago. I'm just following up on that. I'm a money manager with the Dunkington Fund. I would imagine that name is familiar to you. I mean, you came to the seminar after all. You do remember the name, don't you, sir? Sure. Yeah. You are, I should say, sitting on the ground floor of an incredible new equity fund opportunity. I've never seen one like it. Already paying 48% annually. And you probably saw what the Wall Street Journal says it's heading to 70 or 80% territory. You read the journal, sir? Sometimes. As you can probably figure, a fund this hot is bringing all the big boy investors like Gates and Buffett running in to snatch it all up. Right. We're generally seeing people with annual incomes, I don't know, 100,000 or more coming in on this deal. Is that your ballpark, Mr. Rucker? Yeah, around that. I would love, sir, to overnight you some information so you can see the numbers all in black and white. Okay. Give you a day or two to look at it, and then I'll see what you think. Okay. Okay. What's the best mailing address for you, sir? I guess it'll be right here to my home. You and your family live there, do you? Just my wife and me. The kids are grown up now. Wow. You sound so much younger, sir. What is that address? 4257 Oak. That is a beautiful part of town. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. What town is that exactly? Edgemont, South Dakota. Okay, and what's the zip code? I'm not sure because they changed it a couple weeks ago. Okay, well, I'll just make a note here that you don't know zip. Okay, all right, bye now. Bye.
I always like that little part at the end. Does anybody even have a phone like that anymore?
Hello? Hi there. Hi, is this Mr. Rucker? Yeah. How are you tonight, sir? Good? Good. I'm good, too. Let me tell you why that's so funny, Mr. Rucker. My name is Good. Ron Good. And why are you calling us, Good? Well, I'm a money manager with the Dunkington Fund. You came to the seminar a couple weeks ago. I'm just following up on that. Dunkington Fund. I imagine that name's familiar to you if you know anything about investing. Are you a registered broker, sir? Oh, yeah. We're registered with everybody. In fact, we won an award. Well, see, let me ask you a question, Mr. Rucker. Are you interested in making money? What I'm interested in is getting your registration number and a phone number where I can call you back after I verify things, okay? Well, you could do that, but by the time you call me back, the opportunity's gonna be gone. Well, I guess you better call someone else.
I love that one. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about affinity fraud. Now, this is a type of fraud that targets members of an identifiable group. Seniors would be one. The reason why seniors are the #1 targets for people committing affinity fraud is because after all your years of work, you're sitting on the most money. The person that's right out of college, they're not making a lot of money and they don't have much stored away, but seniors do. They also might be church members. It might be members of a certain ethnic community. Somebody that is trusted. And like I said, fraudsters are also members of the group, or they pretend to be. always check, even if the person making the investment offer, you know them, okay? And the person that is telling you about the investment may also be scammed themselves. Pump and dump. This is where I was talking about where if you're on some type of internet blog, or like we saw in that first video clip, somebody owns several million shares of some penny stock. It's totally junk, okay? And what they do is they generate an interest in it. So they have somebody that'll start buying it, you see it, and then you start buying it, and then all of a sudden the guy sold all his stuff, walks away, he's rich, you're not. And then that's why it's called pump and dump. They pump the price up and then they dump it and they walk away. Investment newsletters. We all see these. Even legitimate newsletters may have information that is fraudulent. They're selling advertising space. They're not doing background checks on everybody. So if somebody buys advertising with them, it goes into their newsletter, and so do your homework. They're going to lie about the payments they receive and their track records. They claim to offer unbiased recommendations. And again, newsletters advertised on legitimate websites may also be fraudulent. Always be on guard. Now, this is a section that I'm really glad that they offered, because this is what we are seeing more and more. Seniors that are experiencing diminished capacity, and unfortunately, many are being taken advantage of by their families. Organize all your important documents. I remember my mom and dad's way of organizing was several Buster Brown shoeboxes. You guys don't remember Buster Brown, right? Okay, so organize everything. Provide emergency contacts. Consider written instructions and involve someone you really trust. If anything, you can go to Walmart and just get a 2-drawer file cabinet and have things organized. So if something happens and you can't speak or you can't have access to it, somebody that you trust can go through and find everything that they need, whether it's insurance policies, your pension, retirement funds, Social Security, even information about your doctor and other things. Provide emergency contact to your financial professional, okay? So if you have a broker or investment advisor, you can leave them instructions. You know, if you're unable to reach me for any reason, you can call my son Mark, or you know, my daughter, or whatever. Also, if you've been able to reach me for like a certain period of time, or if I come in and I'm acting confused or strange. Illinois just recently did that, where banks can not perform a service if they suspect that you're coming in and you're not your normal self. Okay, they want to check somebody, you know, you come in and all of a sudden want to liquidate your entire account, and this is something that's so out of the norm, they can wait and try to get a hold of somebody. Be honest with the person that you are going to trust with your information. Give them an overview of your finances. You can make a duplicate statement. You can bring them to the financial institution. Introduce them. This is my son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew. This is the person. Designate this person as your power of attorney. So if you become incapacitated, they can make the financial decisions for you. These are various organizations where they have financial abuse of seniors helpline. Let me see here. These are other ones which you can go online and find any of these. And then we go back to investor.gov again. As I said, we put on there the alerts, especially for seniors, government impersonators. We had a guy one time said he was contacted by the SEC, flew in from Germany, first class, just showed up. I'm here. And we're like, why? And he says, I was told to come here. Well, we don't know who you are, but we don't need you. And he flew back that same day. It's, variable annuities, they tell you about those. Again, investment-related radio programs. Everybody listens to those, and you get somebody's advice and tips and everything like that. And again, for planning for diminished capacity, the social media. And then we go to investor.gov. But what I wanted to show you was we have a special spot for seniors. And it's just a drop down as you go into it. Everything that I just got done talking to you about is right there. That's the one great thing. I love that website. I just, and then there's our main office in Washington, D.C. I work out of our Chicago office, which we handle Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, Kentucky, and Missouri. So, any questions?
What happened? Did you fight her bad with it?
Well, good question. We are a civil law enforcement agency, which means we have no power to place handcuffs on people and take them to jail. The most we can do is fine them, or if they are financial professionals, we can bar them from the industry. We also work in partnership with the FBI or the postal inspectors or Department of Justice. So if something is to the point where it is egregious enough and criminal, we will do parallel investigations along with them. No questions? Okay. All right. I left my card up there. If you have any questions from here on out, you can call. If I don't answer, just leave me a voicemail. I return all my calls as soon as possible. I have an email address on there. You can email me. As I mentioned, I cannot provide advice. I get people, is this thing legit? Well, I really can't say. I can't tell you it's not registered, so take it from there. Or is this a good buy? Can't. I can't tell you that. So, and I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you. Okay.